1, 2, testing. Thank you so much. I'm so honored to be here. And thank you to our amazing panelists. How's everybody feeling, first of all? Good, yeah? All right, a little bit more energy, It's almost Friday. First of all, I just want to say thank you to everyone, and I want to go around and just learn a little bit more about you. For those who do know me, I'm affectionately known as a Bitcoin maxi. And this panel is about investing in all different areas of blockchain and crypto. So I'm going to learn a lot. I might ask some very basic questions, which will hopefully help a lot of you. So why don't we go ahead and start and just learn a little bit about all of you and the projects that you're working on.
All right. First of all, okay. Hello? Thanks, Ali. First of all, it's an absolute honor and a pleasure to be here with you today. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, my name is S.Ereiqat. I stumbled into the world of blockchain in 2014-15 when I had the pleasure to suggest this to governments all around the world and define some of the first strategies in government engagements for blockchain. Most recently, I am the managing partner of a fund investing into early stage tokens called Crypto Oasis Sentio. It's an honor to be here. Ali.
Thank you. So my name is A.Madhavji. I'm the managing partner at Blockchain Founders Fund, which invests in venture builds top-tier startups. I'm also on the board of 2 public companies in the blockchain space, one called Mechanical Technologies, which is a NASDAQ-listed company, and the other is CryptoStar, which is a Toronto Stock Exchange venture company.
Good morning and Assalamu alaikum, everyone. My name is K.Howladar. I'm an ex-banker who started angel investing around 5 years ago, and have made a number of investments in fintech and most recently into crypto and DeFi. Glad to be here. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Pleasure being here with you. I'm a senior director at the International Venture Team at the private office of Sheikh Saeed bin Ahmed Al Maktoum. I'm also the head of research. I have been specialized for the past 5 years mainly on the blockchain enterprise. We have worked with, I believe, dozens of companies. We have analyzed more than 100 use cases for blockchain. Hopefully today you will be learning something new, and thank you.
Hello, everybody. Glad to see you all today. My name is A.Tutova. I'm CEO of Coins.Telegram, and we have a group of companies which include crypto VC funds. So we invest into prospective DeFi crypto projects. As well, we have our own news media website, coinstelegram.com, and a YouTube channel, White Crypto, where we take interviews with the leaders of the industry, make reviews of the projects. And as well, we have a PR marketing agency, so we support different crypto tech companies in all kinds of ways. We help companies with publications in top financial, business, crypto media like Forbes, Entrepreneur, Finance, Yahoo, Cointelegraph. We help with regional development all over the world. We as well work with a lot with influencers, YouTube, Twitter influencers, do different social media campaigns, and help as well companies with business development. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I'm so excited just to see that we are representing so many different nations and cultures here, right? This is bringing a lot of financial inclusivity. And we're also 50% women up here. So I'm really happy about that as well. Just for the folks out there who are maybe a little bit confused by the terminology, they hear crypto, blockchain, Bitcoin, DeFi. Is it one and the same? Are they all different? Sakura, I know you have a really good explanation for this of sort of, describing the foundation layers and the companies built on top. So can you just share with everyone sort of the ecosystem and the landscape and what is crypto versus DeFi?
Perfect. Yeah, thank you for allowing me to do so, because I feel there's a lot of unclarity around this. Blockchain is an umbrella term, right? It's a technology. Think of blockchain as you would think of concrete for a building, right? With concrete, you can build a building, you can build a hospital, you can build a hotel. Right? So blockchain is really this umbrella term that includes what this technology is. When we think about cryptocurrencies, all of the 13,000 different forms of cryptocurrencies that exist out there, and more, and ever increasing, they are one type of application of blockchain. Right? We then use these cryptocurrencies to define a new industry, which is decentralized finance. Right? So think of blockchain as the mesh that holds it all together. DeFi, crypto, and others are just different applications built on top of it.
All right, so what are the trends that we're seeing in terms of people investing in the crypto space? And this goes out to any one of you who wants to answer.
If I can start. Sorry, Ali. One of the most important things I have been seeing lately, the fact that we can literally tokenize everything, right? Starting from copyrights up to real estate, right? Which made, there is like a small number of people, if I can say, that did not get the access to traditional investment, get the chance to actually own a fraction of real estate. And I see this itself, it's the beginning of a bigger hype to cover the entire nation, not only institutional investors. Thank you.
Yeah, so there's three sort of main categories that we look at as sort of areas to invest in, right? So the first one is what we call blockchain, but not crypto. This is sort of our internal terminology, but this is, you know, not token investments. This is more enterprise-related tech, which I know you're very involved in. And, you know, this can include like ag tech, ed tech, you know, supply chain tech, music tech, all of these sorts of things where blockchain's at the core of solving real-world problems. The second category is what we call blockchain areas that service the crypto industry. So this is sort of bridging the gap between the traditional industry and the crypto industry. And so you've got, you know, exchanges, wallets, custodians, market makers, white label credit cards, all of that sort of stuff in the second category. The third is what we call crypto native, and this can be, you know, layer one chains, but this can also be, you know, DeFi, NFTs, gaming, derivatives, all of that sort of stuff. So that's sort of how we break it down internally when we think through it.
So from my perspective, there are two big areas that I'm particularly looking at. One is decentralized finance, and you're seeing a huge trend there from institutions coming into that space. So in my view, and I'm sort of evangelical about this, I think it can completely disrupt banking. And for me, it's what the blockchain was invented for, was decentralized finance. On the other side of the scale, I used to be very into gaming, perhaps when I had hair. So the whole scope of NFTs and gaming and play to earn, that's a huge decabillion industry. And there you're seeing even people changing their incomes based on play to earn in sort of emerging market countries. So decentralized finance at the big end, and NFT gaming at the small end are two areas that I'm looking at.
I think currently we have three trends in crypto investing. First is Web3 and different layer 1, layer 2 solutions, so basically infrastructure companies. Then second, gaming companies, metaverse companies, and NFTs. And how one of the biggest digital assets fund, Grayscale, claims the metaverse industry can be a $1 trillion industry in the future. So I think this year and next year we will see much more developments in gaming, metaverse. And as for DeFi, I think we already had a hype around half a year ago, and now gaming and NFTs are more leading. Maybe from the next year, with bigger institutional adoption of DeFi, the trend for DeFi will come back.
To put this all a little bit into context, I don't think we need to go too far back into the past to find the boom that we see and we live in today not being existent. Just in March 2020, not long ago, in March 2020, Bitcoin was at $3,700. So I think what's very important to take away is that we are in a little bit of a boom. There's somewhat of a hype around this. So I think it's very important for everyone to do their own research, to understand what they're investing in, and understand the technologies that are behind them.
No, that's a really great point. And we do want to remind everybody that this is just for educational purposes only. This isn't official investing advice. But let's dig into what you just said a little bit more, because, you know, some of us remember back in the 90s when the internet came out, and we had all these .com companies, we had the .com bubble, and some people want to equate the crypto and blockchain space to that as well. They worry that some of the racehorses will win and then some of them will fall behind and maybe even go to zero. What are your thoughts on that?
Personally speaking, I think we're at the very early stage of this entire industry, right? This industry didn't exist before 2008. Really, it started taking off, and we started seeing conferences like these and others around the world taking off somewhere around 2014, 15. Right? So it's very early on. It's like trying to go back into the mid-90s and trying to identify, will Windows win or will Apple win? And Guess what? We're in 2021 and Windows is still around and Apple is still around. But the only other technology that I would be able to compare blockchain to is the internet, right? Why? Because there's a network effect. The more people adopt it, the more valuable it becomes, the more value is stored on it. But the internet connected us to information. What blockchain is going to do, it's going to connect us to value. So it's going to be the internet of value. And if we dwell on that a little, we can suddenly see clear lines between the adoption of the internet and the adoption of blockchain. And imagine if I'm here in front of you and it's 1995 and I tell you, hey, blockchain will be, or the internet is going to be everywhere in 2020. This is where we are with blockchain right now. It's the very early days, and it's very important that each one of us gets exposed to it. And if you don't know anything about it, that's okay. It's still early on. You haven't missed the train. But go out there, educate yourself, and understand what these technologies are about.
Yeah, so to add on to that, I think a really interesting point. So I think we're early, but I don't think we're day one, right? And I think this is actually very important because like when, 5 years ago, the conversations we were having, we were very bullish on the industry, but most people we were talking to were still worried that this industry wouldn't exist in another 5 years. That conversation doesn't happen anymore. Like most people, out there believe that this industry is here to stay now, and that actually means that from a risk perspective, a lot of that risk is gone around this industry. I mean, 5 years ago, many massive industries didn't even exist that are now sub-industries in here, DeFi, gaming. I mean, when we started investing in these industries, several years ago, these were still very nascent, and there was still a lot of concerns. A lot of technologies developed on these. They've sort of since blown up, and so there's a ton more opportunity for sure still. And I think a lot of that risk at an early stage has gone. And I think that's really important to note.
Anyone else want to add to that?
No, sure. I mean, look, absolutely agree with your analogy. If you had gone back, we're lucky that we've seen the internet. And we know that the transformative power of tech is 1,000,000x. It's not 10x, it's not 100, it's 1,000,000x. Now, because we've seen that before, we believe it can happen again. And so you really are at the stage, there will be a Google out there will be an Apple out there, but there'll be 99 failures for every one. So open field, a lot of risk, but incredible reward for those people who are willing to take those steps into the cryptosphere.
On a positive note, adding to what Ali was mentioning, I personally believe investing in crypto or blockchain as general, just like investing in a new startup, right? But the good thing is enterprise institutions itself, they're starting not to only accept crypto as a payment, but only to think how we can maybe convert our reserve, our cash fiat into actually crypto. And this will make the entire world transit in a certain way, maybe slowly, but we'll definitely reach there.
Yeah, I agree that we are still in very early stage, and we have so many different crypto applications which are designed mostly for real crypto degens, especially like going after the highest yields in DeFi, connecting wallets, changing different bridges for the lower fees, so for the higher speed, etc. It's so difficult for the average people, even for people knowledgeable in crypto. It's as well like it's not that user-friendly, and it's not just simple few steps. So I think the future is when the user won't need to think at all how it works. So the users will just earn, for example, interest on their deposits and etc. And another thing that not all people are really interested in investments, and especially in startup investments. So for majority of people who can keep some of their savings in the banks and earn small interest. And I see big future in the development of different crypto banks which give the interest, either these are CeFi or DeFi applications. For example, currently I advise one company called FluidFi. It's a Swiss alternative to a bank, and you can open a bank account just in a few minutes and deposit your fiat and get access to different DeFi pools, and you don't need to be technical or understand a lot of things to earn some additional passive income.
These are all amazing points, and it's fascinating to watch history in real time, the adoption just going like this. So this is going to be a selfish one for me. Let's talk a little bit about Bitcoin. Why are you not Bitcoin only? Give me your pitch, because like I mentioned earlier, I'm the Bitcoin girl up here. I believe it to be the best store of value. And some people would argue that the altcoins, they are a bubble, that people could potentially lose money. So give me your best pitch for why it shouldn't be just Bitcoin.
So I stopped arguing with Bitcoin maximalists. Let's start there, right? People that believe in Bitcoin, it's believe in Bitcoin, right? There's a certain belief to it. It's not necessarily a logical argument in many times. What we have to accept is blockchain as we know it and cryptocurrency as we know it, the first and the largest application of it until today is the Bitcoin blockchain, right? It's the longest running blockchain. It's the one that's most decentralized. Having said that, it is a, 13-year-old technology. What in technology can stand the test of time for 13 years? Is it a great technology? 100%. Did it give us a lot of these concepts that now we can apply to others? 100%. Will we tomorrow not pay in dirham anymore and start paying in Bitcoin? 100% not. Will it be a store of value? Yes, right? So a lot of these other new technologies, new smart contract platforms are solving a lot of the problems that Bitcoin has. But no, I will not go there and trying to convince you not to be a Bitcoin maximalist.
Well, I want to hear from the rest of you. Yeah, I mean, there are so many projects out there, and I'll get into more specific questions, but why not just Bitcoin?
I'm going to give a very, very different answer. So, from our side, I'm very pro Bitcoin, but we're not just token investors. We back incredible founders building things that are going to change the world. And so I'll give you an example, right? So we're the first investors in a company called Splinterlands. And so many of you might be familiar, the two biggest blockchain games in the world are called Axie Infinity and Splinterlands. And so we now have 500,000 daily active users. There's 10 million battles played per day. And the stories that we get from users, I mean, we've had so many players in the game just tell us that they've been playing for 3 years and have now made millions and has changed their lives. Or recently, just a couple of weeks ago, we got a photo of a bed from a player, and he said, "Thank you for making this game. I now can sleep on this bed, and I no longer need to sleep on the floor." And this is actually just changing lives of people, and it's creating so much more opportunity. It's all about shared economics instead of the leakage that we see in other systems out there. And so that's a very anecdotal example, but it's these types of stories that show that this technology can change the world in many different ways. And a lot of this started though with that underlying piece or infrastructure that Bitcoin set the ground floor for.
Yeah, I'll take a bit of a different track. I'll try and give the audience a bit of a framework as to maybe how to think about this stuff, because I completely agree with you, Bitcoin as a store of value. If we look at the US is printing dollars like there's no tomorrow, we've got 25 trillion of money in the system. The US dollar versus Bitcoin, I think it's very clear, but there's two other aspects to value, the utility and the network. So Bitcoin, in terms of the utility, they don't yet have sort of layer 2, layer 3 type of products. Like Ethereum has much more utility currently, combined with the network effect. So your token, if it's useful and there's a huge network, that will automatically drive value. So in the case of Axie Infinity, like I say, there's 500,000 people playing. In Ghana, as an example, the average monthly salary is $100. You can make $400 a month playing Axie Infinity. So the value of that token is much more linked to the utility and the network effect rather than the anti-inflationary Bitcoin. So Bitcoin has a special status. The others is a very crowded field, but you have to look at utility and network effect to see which one of those will actually do well in the longer term.
I would like to add a very simple point. I believe the value itself will always depend on two things, right? Supply and demand. When we started by, let's say, having the Bitcoin in place a long time ago, it already earned so much credibility along different traders, if I can say. It will take time until the other currencies jumping into this hype, so I have to say I agree with you to a certain extent.
Perfect.
For me, Bitcoin is a standard. It's the first cryptocurrency, and this is a long-term bet which will never fail. So for the new buys, I consider Bitcoin is just a perfect investment, and everybody should have at least a fraction of Bitcoin in their portfolio. But if you anticipate higher returns, you should consider as well altcoins. So I can compare investing into Bitcoin as investing into gold on the market, and investing into altcoins as investing into stocks of different companies. But additionally, there was mentioned that Bitcoin has a limited supply of $21 million, and unlike US dollar, which has unlimited supply, and we see so much money printing. But in reality, the same is happening now in crypto industry too, and the market is flooded with excessive amounts of money, and a lot of crypto projects as well create this money out of thin air. So you can just launch your token, claim that it has value, pay advisors, pay influencers in this token. Some people will use it, some people may dump it. So it's as well some kind of depends on the adoption of this or that project.
You know, I think one of the reasons why the average person who doesn't really know a lot about this space hasn't invested in Bitcoin is you look at the price, right? And it seems so out of reach, especially for the average person. And so I think that a lot of the other tokens and cryptocurrencies that have emerged, especially in the last year, they seem very attractive, right? Some of them are less than a penny, and all of a sudden they can have a 1,000,000% appreciation very, very quickly. So I want to ask you a little bit about just navigating the space, especially for people who are new, who really want to make a profit. You know, how do they do their research? Can you give them any tips?
I think right now the matter of the fact is there's so many people trying to sell you so many coins. It's a jungle out there, right? Having said that, there are institutions such as Harvard, Princeton, who are putting their education online. A16Z, for example, is a place where you can go and learn about it more and more. Specifically speaking, I'd ask people to educate themselves. It's a very important aspect. We treat these cryptocurrency investments slightly different in our head, unfortunately, than we would buying a company or buying shares and stocks. You would never buy shares and stocks in a company that you've never heard about, right? So it's very important for you to actually check the fundamentals. What do we mean by checking the fundamentals? Ali made a great point. We back people. Even in Crypto Oasis Sentia, we look for great people. Find out who the team is behind them, right? These teams, most of the time, you can reach out to them depending on where they are in the world. Telegram is the communication platform for the crypto industry. You can join any Telegram group, find out about the team that is actually supporting it. Then find out how are they funded? Where's their money coming from? The beauty of this market that we deal with is it's completely transparent and open, right? You can see the demand, and you can see the supply, and you can see what we call as the liquidity and the total volume around it, right? And now, slowly but surely, there are great projects emerging. Like, for example, Evai.io is a company that is a cryptocurrency ratings agency, right? They apply A to F ratings to cryptocurrencies out there, and they look at it from a data point of view, right? I think a lot of ratings, as we know them today, is broken because someone gets paid to rate. What they do, they've implemented a completely data-driven artificial intelligence methodology that actually helps you rate. But I think, and I've said it a couple of times now, read, and read the trusted sources. It's very important.
Yeah, there's a couple of things. I think you brought up some really good points. I think there's a couple of things when you look at data, right? So, or first, when you look at these projects. So first is team, second is data, and so you mentioned some different sources. You can also check out, for example, rankings like DApp Radar, for example. There's like DeFi Pulse, etc., which will tell you like how many users do they have. So, which I think is very important. If you can figure out daily active users, and this data set can actually oftentimes be better than traditional companies because it's actually real time on chain. So it's actually very, very accurate for the most part. So looking at this sort of thing will help you differentiate between who has real users versus speculators, which is a big problem in our industry in general. And then, you can also look at sites like Lunar Crush. We're actually one of the first investors in it as well. They're, one of the most popular tools in the industry for discovering, new projects. We analyze 4 million social media messages a day with natural language processing. Very good tool if you want to actually understand these projects from a data perspective, and it's all free as well.
So look, I can empathize with that question because I'm probably the only one that 3 years ago I didn't have any cryptocurrency. My first exposure actually, because I'm actually a risk-averse person, was via listed products. There's a lot of institutions now that are setting up funds, regulated funds. So those funds have consumer protections. I'm not a fan of intermediation, but for people who are new to crypto, who want to get exposure to mainstream tokens like Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, Cardano, these have already been validated and vetted by somebody else. And you can just go to your Interactive Brokers platform. It's listed, it's been validated. So that's probably a safer way to start, because the stuff that these guys are talking about, I've only just opened up my own wallets, MetaMask, about 6 months ago, and God, it's a headache, right? You've really got to come up to speed. There's so much to learn, and if you actually have a day job doing something else, good luck to you trying to come up to speed. So better to offload to professionals like Sakar and Ali to do it for you, or if you're even more risk averse, just go with the exchange traded products listed on your exchanges, and that's probably a safer way to get your first taste of crypto. That's how I started.
It's a lot of good advices here. Since we're running out of time, I'll just add one thing, which is start small. Since you are reading, you are researching, you are analyzing, hopefully from a trusted sources, make sure also you will start small until you will understand the whole world fully. And I believe all of us, we keep learning, right?
I consider that everything depends on your risk appetite, and as well you should invest the amount of money which you can afford to lose, and better to not to run for rich quick schemes, but seize a long-term game. And if you risk averse, it's probably Bitcoin and Ethereum will be the best bet for you. If you can afford to diversify your portfolio, and it's the best thing, you can try investing into different top 50, top 100 altcoins, and I think it's as well quite safe because they already listed on some big exchanges, so these are verified projects which can give good returns.
I think that's such great advice, and it's important for everyone to remember it does start with baby steps, right? Just like with anything else. These events are great for educational purposes. There's so much information online, and it's amazing to learn from experts like you. So just to start to wrap up, I want to know, what's the question on all of your minds? What are you thinking about and wondering in terms of the future of this space? What are you wanting to know?
I think that's a very good question, and one that one should reflect on. If there's one parting thought that I'd like to leave with the audience is, right now, everything pretty much is at a price that we've not seen before, right? This is a very hype market right now, so proceed with caution, proceed with education. I firmly believe, I've been wrong before, but I firmly believe that this time will be different. This time, institutional adoption. We have players like HSBC, Banco Santander, Deutsche Bank, JP Morgan Chase. Every single bank has set up a cryptocurrency trading desk. 87% of countries around the world, the UAE being one of them, is exploring central bank digital currencies, right? So it is a very different world, but keep in mind, just March 2020, Bitcoin was at $3,700. Is it very far-fetched that we could go back to it? It's not. Personally, I hope we won't, right? But, educate yourself and proceed with caution.
I would buy a lot more if it did.
We're like to add on to that, I do think it is different this time, right? I mean, I've been in discussions with Fortune 500 execs for 5+ years, and now the sentiment is just completely different. I mean, the amount that we're seeing, even in terms of like interest into companies of ours, we're seeing token investments being made by Fortune 500 companies. Like, these are things that have not happened before. And I can't go into a lot of details because some of it is confidential, but you will start to see a lot of this starting to come out, and even interest in funds in the space, et cetera, from major corporates is not been seen, or institutionals has not been seen before. So I think that is exciting. I think the way that I look at it, or the one thing I would want everyone here to do, is learn about the space, educate yourself, and actually just try something in the space. If you haven't been on Play to Earn gaming and you want to get exposed, learn about it or message me. I'll help personally get you into the space. If you have kids, they need to know about this. Even just from an educational perspective, if they don't like it, then they can try other things, right? But same with DeFi, et cetera.
Yeah, and when I think about the future, I think what I would like to see is more sort of mass retail participation, through funds or institutions, because at the moment there's a lot of wealth creation opportunities happening, but it's still the same 1%, 2% that are accruing that wealth, but there's an opportunity for the proverbial little guy to get in. And I think when more institutions come into the space and start offering, and I know this is not very sort of libertarian, but if there is the ability to offer regulated, consumer-protected crypto products through institutions to retail, then I think we can bring more people in and we'll get over that hump in terms of mass adoption. But it's a risky space. I wouldn't recommend people just jumping in, without doing the work, or if they don't have the time, without having a firm at their side when they do it.
That's right. You have to do the work. The work can be a lot of fun. As we mentioned, there's so much great information out there. Thank you to all of you for joining us today. It's time for our next panel, but thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Fabulous.